Welcome, everybody, to the Seattle Sports Union podcast. My name is Abraham DeWeese. I'm back again with the Savage Nathan Savage, and our producer, the Soul Man, Brian Solak. Nathan, all right, you can tell us that you told us so. You said you predicted the 49ers win. Brian and I had the Seahawks, but it was a close game. It was a really close game. And what it seemed to come down to me was maybe the 49ers might have the best defense we're going to run into this year.
Yeah, it's so tough to tell, but I mean we knew they would be good coming in. I was actually I think I predicted like 27-20. And
Yeah.
as the game started, I immediately thought, "Oh, this is going to be you know, in the dozens, not in the 20s." And I like that type of football. And I think when the Seahawks are going to win games, they're going to play games like that. Um, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Looking forward off that game, the Niners look super banged up. And I thought potentially the Niners could win the division. Now, with the amount of injuries that they got, Purdy being out, some of that, I think the division looks a lot, the road to potentially making the playoffs and being successful in the division looks a lot easier actually now for me
So
as a
yeah,
Seahawks fan.
there is a
Yeah.
bright side. Yeah, we
Yeah.
knocked out the quarterback. I think Kittle got knocked out as well for the next game. So we did do some damage. We took some damage, and before the show, I was telling you how I'm feeling a little sketchy not having potentially Devin Witherspoon and Julian Love and Nick Amenori as we face Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. You said you kind of liked the Reek Woolen matchup versus Metcalf.
Yeah, I think coverage wise, I mean, the biggest problem, that the same thing we saw last week, and I was watching some videos on Woolen afterwards because I was kind of upset with the trajectory he'd gone compared to where he was his rookie year, but the video actually made me a little more excited about Woolen. He's one of the best, cover corners still. It's just this weakness that really reared its ugly head against the Niners is he's in the perfect position. He's one of the best, if not the best corners in the NFL at staying glued on his receiver, but he struggles up in the air, and that's where DK, I think, will get some throws from Aaron Rodgers, some back shoulder throws. I think if we were facing the, Pickett Steelers, it would be a great
Mhm.
game for Woolen. But Aaron Rodgers is the type of quarterback that he'll see his guy covered and still throw the ball up. And I'm worried a little bit on those jump balls. But in terms of sticking to him, I think DK isn't one of those guys that's going to beat you on routes. And Woolen is, even against the top receivers, great at sticking to those routes. So I think on that side of things, I'm excited about. But like you said, I think Love and Witherspoon were the two best defenders on the Seahawks last year. I would probably include Williams in there as well, but just unreal how well they played. And if they're not available, I don't know what the defense is going to look like. I'm pretty nervous about that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to hope that McDonald will adjust and try to find a way to make this work. We saw some pass rush, but what we didn't see was consistent pass rush. And so I want to see if our guys like Derek Hall going to step up. Or I think, does Nuosu come back next week or this game?
He's healthy, they said, but I don't know. McDonald last week mentioned game shape, so I don't know if he's in game shape or what they're ready for. But I mean, last week the all 22, or as people were looking at film of the game, they thought it was like an elite performance by the defensive line for the Seahawks.
Last week?
Mafe, they said, yeah, just didn't maybe get the sacks, but the amount of pressure they put on Purdy was an elite level of pressure. And he was threatened consistently over the course of that game, had to get his throws out very quickly. He did a good job of that to avoid the sack, but they really, I think Trent Williams had potentially one of the worst games of his career. They really got into Purdy's face. So I'm pretty excited about that if that can continue.
Yeah, I think the defense did well. Elite kind of baffles me because I felt like there were definitely some easy going for Purdy on certain plays. But again, those would be just certain plays, right? The
Yeah.
grand the grand score was 17. If you go an entire season only giving up 17 runs or score, 17 points. I
Yeah.
got baseball on the mind.
Yeah.
But you'll win championships doing it that way.
Yeah, and I think that O line for Shanahan is pretty famous for taking it to the other team. And I think just from what I heard and commentary about it, they did not look like a Shanahan O-line. The Seahawks really kind of flipped the script and took it to them on the defensive side of the ball and pushed them back. Yeah, I that's one of the best. Again, that's why I like McDonald so much is I just don't see Shanahan's offense looking that distraught for the majority of the game. And I would say a couple, Woolen jumps a little bit differently on a couple plays, and we're talking about this as a defensive masterclass where they held San Francisco to 10 points and shut them down and won the game off defense. So I think we talked about it last week. I think a lot of games are going to come down to did we make the plays or not. I'm a little bit nervous this year that we're not going to make the plays, but even then, we're still a very competitive NFL team, which is just fun to watch.
I got to watch Steelers versus Jets last week, and I have to say the Jets look like a bunch of bumbling oafs, but that wouldn't be any different than the Jets normally. Um, I think this is a much stiffer defense that the Steelers have to face. But again, you're talking about a Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers. You're talking about Metcalf, who is talent wise top five. Even if he doesn't have the yards to back it up. Do you see an extra level above the 49ers coming at us, or is this a Steelers offense that doesn't worry that much?
It's so weird, right? Like the Jets were supposed to be one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Fields was not supposed to perform that well. Steelers were supposed to have one of the best defense in the NFL. Then that was just a really weird game to me. I don't know. It's just game one jitters or teams are figuring it out, but
Yeah,
for that game to be in the 30s was very interesting to me. I think the Niners are a better team than the Steelers,
I think so,
but
or than the
I do
Jets
definitely think,
or the
well,
Steelers.
I
Sorry,
think,
yeah.
yeah, I think that, but I definitely think defensively, actually, the Steelers should be better than the Niners. The Steelers defense, I would think, would be really good, but Fields tore them apart. So I'm not sure if that was just Fields having a career game or what was going on, but it was super interesting. And yeah, just going off the way Aaron Rodgers was throwing the ball, I mean, we all have nightmares as
Yeah.
Seahawks fans from him on Green Bay in the regular season or even in the playoffs, just kind of just whipping that ball around and dominating. So if that does show up against the Seahawks as well, then I'm pretty nervous. Until Witherspoon and Love were injured, I thought the Seahawks were actually gonna. The narrative next week would be should Aaron Rodgers retire sooner rather than later. If there's holes in the secondary, and we talked about it with the draft and some of those issues, this is not a very deep, in my opinion, Seahawks defense. If there's injuries, I don't think there's a lot of elite players sitting there or top level players sitting there ready to back them up. If Love's out or Witherspoon's out, I think this is like a pretty top heavy defense. So there's going to be a lot of holes, and Aaron Rodgers is too good to, you know, not take advantage of those holes.
Now the Steelers didn't really run all that often. I don't know if that was by design because they have Aaron Rodgers, or if they're just not capable of doing it. I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust that they're going to air the ball out and do what they did with the Jets. Let win it on the arm of Aaron Rodgers. Now on the other side, Jets ran for something like 150 yards. Brees
Yeah,
Hall
I
got
think
around.
more. I think they had 170 in like the third
Okay.
quarter or something too. Yeah.
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 So maybe Clint Kubiak tries to rev up this running game. It didn't work against the Niners, but I'm wondering if that was just the best defense we're going to see.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? Because again, you think, oh, TJ Watt, that's the best defender in the NFL. He's just going to tear them up. But I think the Jets had their rookie fifth overall pick just completely shut him down. Fields ran all over them. Their
Yeah.
their Hall and Allen just looked unstoppable. So I'm pretty confused about what this team is that we're facing this week as we're heading into Pittsburgh because it didn't look at all like a Tomlin team, but I would expect the game to look a little bit more like a Tomlin football game and them to have figured out their weaknesses. Maybe last week's a fluke. And I do think this defense is going to be the real deal. I think they actually potentially will be better than the Niners defense. It's just, I hope Kubiak got his first game jitters or whatever that was out of the way and will call a more competent game because any similar game plan, I think, to last week, they're going to look just as bad as they did last week on offense.
There is kind of a worry if Clint Kubiak was so good at New Orleans because he had Kamara and Taysom Hill and whatnot. You would think he could do something with this team. There is some talent, but it did not reflect properly. There's one play action pass. I know people have been getting on the case there. Overwhelming amount of targets and catches to JSN. Where were the attempts for the others? That could just also be a talent thing. Maybe the other players, Horton and Cup and Arroyo, aren't getting off their blocks or whatnot, or off the jams.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched Ramsey. You probably watched Jalen Ramsey tear it up
Yeah.
and take over that game. I actually think Ramsey would be a really bad matchup for JSN. I think his physicality makes him a bad, but just the way he plays is not ideal for JSN. So I would say on paper, also a lot more nervous about this wide receiver room coming into this week. And it is going to be a little bit of a bummer with DK on the other side of things, where we've seen DK produce pretty consistently, and I assume he'll produce in this game. He'll probably, end up with a personal foul call as
I
is
hope
tradition
so.
and some of that
I
too.
hope so.
But it will be very tough if JSN gets shut down, the other wide receivers don't show up again, and then we have DK going for 100 yards. I think I hope the game doesn't look like man, why did we go this route and not pick up this guy or that guy, kind of sign this guy. I hope it doesn't look like that, but it's a little bit scary going into it.
Yeah, we talked to Stacey Joe Ross, and she was mentioning it's it's a choice that the Seahawks went with a true rookie at receiver and a true rookie at tight end, and I'll add on to what she said, a true rookie at left guard.
Yeah.
That's asking for a lot out of positions that require experience, chemistry. I mean, you can put a running back in. I feel like you can put a running back in as a rookie, and that'll work. That's fine. Uh, Probably put a rookie in as defensive tackle. Receiver, that's a tough call. Getting two brand new players.
Yeah, I think Horton sadly didn't grade very well. But again, I think
But you shouldn't
like
expect
one
that.
nice thing about a young team like this is you can also look at the growth as the season goes on. And
Yeah,
even if, I mean, I think right now the projection dropped from 5 wins to 4 wins for the season with the Seahawks. So now
you're right.
it's switched to the Colts now is a loss when it was a win. So
Okay.
I hope that doesn't even, we don't aren't even close to talking about a low number of losses like that. But even if it ends up in that disaster level of wins, I'm still super excited to see this young team develop. I would still call it a win if guys like Horton start to show up, Arroyo start to show up. So we'll see what happens.
I agree with you. Week 6 is not going to look like week 1 for this team. When you have young players, they're different players halfway through the season. And when you think about an NFL season being worth 2 college football seasons, just total amount of games played, yeah, they will be sophomores by halfway through the season. So, yeah, that I'm hoping for that. Any evaluation of the offensive line for the Seahawks in your mind?
I
Would
mean,
they be better, worse?
yeah. I mean, I think there were a lot of holes, definitely, but I thought Zabel was definitely a huge bright spot. Cross again is just lights out, completely shut down Bosa. Bosa switched to the other side, and sadly, Lucas. I know a lot of people are excited about his contract extension. I was pretty nervous about that, at least in the first game.
Last offensive
Didn't
play,
it didn't look that great.
last offensive play of the game, he got beat. Now, is that
Yeah.
beat because it's Bosa, or is it he needs to get in the way even if it is Bosa? Do you have a
I think
feeling
it
on that?
is. Of course, it's Bosa, but I mean, just looking at the way the NFL is, who is he playing now? He's going to have TJ Watt. That's the all-time sack leader in a season. He's tied for sack leads. And then Cam Jordan's coming right away the next week. Like, that's just the nature of the NFL. There are some unreal talents on defense and especially on the ends, and you got to shut them down if you want to be a successful team.
Yeah, that's going to be an issue. Now, one thing that a lot of pundits have noted is that the Seahawks didn't do what their offense is supposed to do in running the zone outside. We didn't do it all that much. I think, I look at the Steelers, and if they're giving up all these yards to Fields and to Hall, etc., I think you got to go back to the well and keep trying the outside runs.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way they're going to win games, it's got to be running the ball, play action off of that, and then winning games with the defense with McDonald. And I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated. I don't know what's going on, but how many press conferences is McDonald gonna go up there and say, "Hey, I don't know why we didn't do this. I'm gonna go talk to the offensive coach to figure out why that went against our game plan. Like, what's going on here?" I remember, like, I really like McDonald, but I remember with Pete Carroll that just would never happen, right? He would step in there during the game and say, "Hey, we need to do this." So maybe he's really dialed in on defense, and I don't want to trade that in any way for offense, but I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated with these press conferences where they're talking about, "Oh yeah, we wanted to do that or we should have done that." Like, the game is happening. Why aren't you running what you wanted to coming in? What's distracting you? Are the offensive coordinators panicking? Are you not interacting with them? And like, what's going on here where we went a full season of grub doing that? And now
Yeah.
game one already, Kubiak somehow abandoned the playbook or abandoned the plan, and then our offense looked just basically uncoached or just lacking structure or lacking play calling. Yeah, it
How
just
old,
didn't look good.
how old is McDonald?
Like, he's pretty young. I think he's in his 30s still. I
Yeah,
don't
and
know. Yeah.
second year head coaching.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's just growing pains. Got a full list here of injuries or do not participates. I mean, so you got Human Worry, Love, Jaron Reed, Witherspoon, Ernest Jones, Nwosu, Tariq Young. That's a pretty healthy list there, Nathan.
Yeah, I think some of those, I think Ernst Jones might have come back and practiced
Okay.
a little bit today. I know Wednesday is like the big day where most guys will take off anyway, but yeah, I am not. I just remember us talking about this in the offseason. Man, if they get some injuries in the secondary, if they get some injuries in the linebacker core, on paper this looks like a really good defense, but they don't have a lot of guys behind it. It doesn't look like a lot of depth. What's going on
No.
here? And it sucks that already after week one we're starting to look at these injuries pile up and wonder who's going to fill these holes. Like, we did not draft or we did not bring in reliable backups, it seems, in some of these positions. What's going to happen here? And I hope that what we saw in week one continues, where we have an elite defense again. But injuries are a big part of the NFL, and it's going to take some younger guys, some backups needing to step up, it seems, to get there.
One place we thought we had a lot of depth was running back. So we saw pretty much a 50-50 split on carries with Walker and Charbonnet. Is Charbonnet starting to take over his job, or was that just a we'll see? My hope is that Walker's not in the doghouse. Yeah, canine in the doghouse. Anyway, pun intended.
Yeah.
But I want to see more opportunities for Kenny Walker, and I just didn't see it. And I don't know if that's you're in the doghouse or if the game just didn't flow properly.
Yeah, there's definitely something off with him. I'm not sure if it's something defenses are keying on because of his tendencies or the way they run the ball when he's in the game or what exactly is going on. But it seems like since some injuries last year, there is not that explosive, shifty kind of Walker that we're used to seeing. He's also getting
Okay.
hit a lot in the backfield. And then Charbonnet will come in. The holes will seem to open up a little more. He'll seem to be able to get some yardage. So I have no idea what's going on with that, but it's starting to get to the point now after, half a year in a game where I'm looking at Charbonnet's production continuously and it's continuously outpacing Walker. And I'm wondering how long is this leash, you know, is this leash going to last for Walker? Because at some point, it's just, what have you done for me lately? And I don't know. I don't think he's definitely not the only one to blame. I think the offensive line really left him out to dry, but something's going on, and it's just not going to work with the way this team is set up.
Yeah, it just kind of bugs me because talent wise, Walker's the superior player. Charbonnet is not a home run hitter, in your respective. He's not going to run a 50-yard touchdown for you that often. He's more of the bruiser who can also run outside. We need the Kenny Walker of previous years. This one that we saw yesterday, or I'm sorry, Sunday, I don't. Yeah, you're right. He doesn't get through the holes. I don't know if he's not waiting for them or what have you, or he's not seeing them, but it's not there like it used to be. And I wonder if some short passes to him might help. get him out in space because we did not see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's another. I don't know what's been going on for the past year, but somehow the screen pass has become like the Da Vinci Code or something for the Seahawks. Like, I don't know what is going on, but there are some terrible screen passes again. And I think that's a huge part, should be a huge part of their game. It seemed like they had eight stacked in the box continuously in the second half, consistently going after Darnold. You have to have some kind of screen game to get you out of those situations. Yeah,
Against the Steelers, who is your key to winning the game?
has to be Darnold.
He's got to do something
Maybe,
better. He's got to do something better.
yeah, maybe, I was pretty upset at him after the game, but then looking at more of the tape, looking at the all 22, looking at some of the play calling, it seemed like they had him fully in bubble wrap. Like they just really shut it down. He was, he was just locked down. That was the game plan is he's going to throw for 150 yards. I don't think maybe they had some game plan as that's how they're going to win the games this year. I just don't think they're going to beat the Steelers that way this week. He has to get the ball down the field. He has to run play actions. He has to be allowed to, make risky plays in their mind. And maybe that'll end up in a three interception, four interception game. And we're going to say, oh man, that's why they didn't do that last week. But to just have him only throw short passes, throw for 150 yards, it's just not a winning formula in my opinion
Yeah,
from where they're at. So he has to step up. I want him to throw over 250 yards if I think if they have a chance of winning this game.
yeah. My key is actually Clint Kubiak. He's got to step up too. Whatever they rolled out didn't work. Try something different. You got the pieces you have are the pieces you have. You're not going to get a savior. There's very rarely in the NFL a big monster trade that happens. You gotta use what you have, and it didn't look like we were using our pieces right. And maybe that might be another thing about Kenny Walker. What if he's just not a Clint Kubiak type player?
Yeah, it could be something in the running scheme. Maybe he doesn't like that type of running, but I'm sitting here as I'm thinking, is Darnold the highest paid quarterback in Seahawks history? Or does Russ beat him by like 3 or 4 million or something? Because I thought Russ got out before the crazy contract, moved to
So
Denver before.
hold up, Darnold only makes 17 million this year.
I think no, 30 million. I think and
Is it 30?
55 yeah, and 55 guaranteed.
I thought we had an out after the first year.
We do, but it's still 55 guaranteed
I see.
as part of the contract. Yeah.
Well, if it's 30, you said 30 this
I
year,
think 33, but I could be wrong. Could be
because
just 30 on the dot.
that's what Geno Smith was making.
I think Gino was 25,
He was
but I
over the
could.
30. He was
Oh, he
over the
was.
30
Oh,
mark.
okay. Okay. But still, basically, this is like right there with the highest paid quarterbacks in the history of the franchise. There's just no way they can have him in this straight jacket, handing off the ball, throwing short passes all game. Like they
You
just
got to
have to open it up. You're paying too much money to just never know. So they have to open it up. Yeah.
so getting towards the end of our show, but I want to read off what the Soul Man just messaged me. Darnold signed with the Seahawks on a 3-year, 100.5 billion contract. The deal is structured in such a way that the Seahawks could part ways with Darnold after 1 year, having paid him 37.5 million. So that's still a hefty chunk of change, but there is an out.
Okay. But that 1 year would be the highest paid quarterback year
That
in
would be
Seahawks
higher.
history.
That'd be higher than Russ. Yep, and definitely higher than Gino. All right, let's do predictions, guys. I'll go ahead and get us started here. I do not like the Seahawks on the road. I do not like the Seahawks with the injuries. This is not a Dr. Seuss poem. I'm not going to make this all rhyme, but I will say that I'm going to flip. I'm going to flip what we had and say Seahawks 20, and I'll give the Pittsburgh 30. Like I too many injuries on the defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Soulman has Pittsburgh 37-31 over the Seahawks. How about you, Nathan?
Yeah. I think they're on kind of a similar level as a team. I really do. I think compared to the Niners, I think their chances of winning are better. It's just all these narratives, like you said, they're playing in Pittsburgh. They're playing at 10 a.m. everyone's injured. That it feels like everyone's injured on defense. The Steelers are coming off a big win. Aaron Rodgers is probably pumped. I think that's just going to end up being too much. I hope it's another close game. I'm going to say 2017 Steelers, but I do hope it's a really close game. And hey, maybe this game Woolen knocks down a pass or Ramsey makes the mistake in the end zone on JSN and the Seahawks end up winning it. So I
That'd be
do hope for a
nice.
close game. Yeah.
All right, let's finish out with shout outs. I'll go ahead and get us started here. I'm going to give a shout out to Stacey Joe Rost, who joined us a little bit earlier, and you can see that video here on YouTube. She is on ESPN, I believe, during the midday, and she's co host with Michael Bumpus, former Cougar. And Soul Man, our producer, is going to give a shout out to the Aqua Sox. The Aqua Sox are in the playoffs, playing for the championship this weekend. It's their 30th anniversary. It would be really neat if they got a Northwest trophy, uh, high single A ball. And I agree with you, Soul Man. How about you, Nathan?
I would just like to say the game last night for the Mariners was probably this year at least. I watched a pretty fun game in Japan,
Vic,
so but in the
Vic,
US, probably the best game I've seen. That
Vic
was just
Robles.
unreal. Yeah.
Why don't you tell everybody about Vic Robles?
Well,
Or
just I think that call by Goldschmidt where he said, Robles, what have you done? Is just the perfect because like hitting your second home run in your career for a 13th inning walk-off is just unreal. And the defense was on fire. Crawford was diving. Suarez was making just crazy plays. They're just holding on by their nails, it felt like, to keep these playoff hopes alive. And if they win today, it's a big if this time of year, but if they win, they're tied for the division lead. So just really fun baseball being played up. Aqua Sox, I hope they win as well. And just yeah, it's a good time of year for sports and baseball.
Definitely. And yeah, Vic Robles with walk off. Was it 12th inning? 13th inning, walk off home run. Fantastic story. Thought that guy was, I thought he was done for this year. I had no, compunction that he was coming back. But anyway, hopefully our Seahawks can do it. Hopefully they can get a win over in Steel City. 10 a.m. game, guys. That means get your head up from your pancakes and turn the TV on. On behalf of the Soul Man Brian Solak, our producer, Nathan Savage, the Savage Nathan, and myself, Abraham DeWeese, we'll see you guys next time.
Hawks.